You're listening to the Birds on Power Lines podcast. Thank you for joining us. This episode is our fourth and final one discussing the Doctor Who 60th Anniversary Special. In case you missed our other podcasts on this topic, we started right after watching the final part, The Giggle, and got so carried away with it that we ended up breaking with convention and decided to discuss the three parts of the 60th Anniversary Special in reverse order. If you can, we'd love it if you listen to the other three podcasts, two covering The Giggle and the third on Wild Blue Yonder. So in this podcast, we are talking about the Starbeast. All three episodes gave us a lot to think about. We hope you enjoyed them as much as we did.
I think this is really funny because I didn't even know it was called the Starbeast at first. I mean, I knew, but when I was thinking back on it and thinking about doing this with you, I kept calling it the meep, right? And I guess it's because they made such a point of, the meep. That's how I like to be referred to. And so I was just thinking that this is just called the meep. But anyways, yeah, I had a riot watching this with you because for you, this was sort of your first experience with Doctor Who, right? And it was actually pretty funny to do this with you, and I really enjoyed that part, right? And I thought it was really funny because at the beginning when you saw the meep, right, you reacted just like the Doctor. Oh, isn't he cute? Aren't they cute? And and I warned you, right? I warned you. This might turn out to be the monster, which is exactly why I was scared of Doctor Who when I was little. It was just always so creepy, and it always would throw me for a loop. And when I was little, I was just not into that, right? But I thought this really was a great start to the special because it did really introduce people to things in that way, and it also explained things to bring people up to speed. And it introduced new ideas, right? I mean, I didn't know about the unit, right? And then there was new characters added in that. And then at the same time, there was like all this comedy, like with the Doctor and the packages and seeing Donna and that neighbor kid who kept watching stuff from his window and seeing all this stuff happening. That was just, it was funny. And plus, like, oh, I just loved the scene where the Doctor makes those sliding glass panes to protect the nobles. So there was so much in terms of effects there that he did with the sonic screwdriver that I really enjoyed that. So yeah, let's get talking about this episode.
I mean, technically, that wasn't my first ever experience with Doctor Who, because I know maybe 4 or 5-ish years ago, that I think I saw on TV they were playing some old rerun with some weird moving mannequins, and I don't know, there was something about lightning and the London Eye and something like that. I have no idea which series that was from, but that technically was my first interaction with Doctor Who. But yeah, in terms of real authentic interaction with the whole concept of Doctor Who, yeah, that was definitely a first for me. And I mean, since I am probably I'm older than you were when you first encountered Doctor Who, I did have a little bit more of an idea of what to expect, which probably helped me. And also because I'm old enough to know that I do like these kinds of things. But I also think that the Starbeast was probably the most it was kind of a very soft opening of this whole world of Doctor Who for people who didn't necessarily or weren't necessarily into the fandom before, because like you said, it did give a good general gist of what the series the entire franchise is like. But at the same time, it wasn't full on hardcore like Doctor Who, like the other two specials. It was a little bit more lighthearted, and also probably more than a little bit of fan service, because of course we already know that like everyone loved David Tennant's Doctor number 10 and Donna. They loved their whole friendship and everything they had going on with each other. And that this episode probably definitely played into that even more so than the other two, I think. But it was just very it was an experience that's definitely true.
I did not know you'd already seen some of Doctor Who. I'm wondering, where was I when you were doing that? Anyways, I looked up that episode with the eye because I was curious what you had seen, and I had came up with an episode called Rose with the Ninth Doctor, and apparently that was when they actually first met. And ironically, that was also written by Russelltdavies. So I'm pretty sure that that's what you were watching. Um, Curiously, though, Rose extends into the 10th Doctor, as we know, and I remember we were discussing that. If when there's a new Doctor, if the companion is always changing. Um, so all I can say to that is, and you know what it's going to be, Barcelona.
Yeah, I saw that on a weekend like a few years back, but I think you were probably busy or something. I don't know if that's the one that I saw, but it's good to know that like the switch over between the doctors and the companions doesn't like always happen at the exact same time. Like, because I think that kind of the companions, they kind of serve as like a bridge between doctors, so that like the fandom doesn't always get thrown through a loop when a new doctor like regenerates. But I also think that's why like Donna as a companion just like worked so well and why so many people love her, because like she's not there for the whole run, but like I think that kind of enabled her to grow beyond her identity as someone who just like travels with the doctor. And we essentially see that in like these three episodes when she comes back, like how much she's grown. And like I can only imagine how much more like impactful that would have been if we'd seen her like when her run with 10 was airing.
And I was also thinking about your hardcore comments. And I think that with the Starbeast not being as hardcore as other ones, that probably disappointed a lot of people who love to hate and poop on other people's fun. But anyways, believe me, I'm familiar with that kind of feeling of smug superiority that Uber fans have. Not with Doctor Who though, but that would be going back to when I was younger and me reading The Lord of the Rings 13 times in high school. And then, I got to be a young adult and I ran across this whole Harry Potter nonsense, right? And I was totally not going to listen to or watch or read any Harry Potter because this was all a bunch of people who had no idea what fantasy was. And I just thought that it was just nonsense. But yeah, I changed my mind. Harry Potter's great. And smugness just limits your enjoyment. And that's all I have to say about very smug Doctor Who Uber fans that think that they're better than everyone else. But haters gotta hate.
Honestly, for me, like I said in the Wild Blue Yonder, actually, my one of my favorite scenes was when Donna and the doctor were kind of separated by that clear panel of glass. Like I don't really know what it is that I like about these kinds of scenes where like two groups of people or two people are separated but they can still see each other. I just like it, I just find that whole like concept very fascinating, like the whole interaction they have with each other, because like they can see each other but they can't like really get to each other. And I feel like both this scene in The Starbeast and the one in Wild Blue Yonder with the Doctor and Donna, and then the not Doctor and not Donna. Both of those I thought kind of were cinematic parallels. I guess it would be the right term. And I just thought it was very interesting how, like, of course, like Russell T Davies is the showrunner for all three of them really, but I just thought it was interesting how he kind of used that same technique again but in a totally different way.
And yeah, I agree. I really missed a lot at the beginning. And I know when we watched it again, you're like, Mom, didn't you catch that? And I'm like, yeah, because I was just so excited about watching this with you for the first time that I just completely wasn't really paying attention. So it was good to go back and look. And you know, your observation or your correlation with that scene when they're separated with the glass, that was really an interesting observation. I did not even catch that. But, you know, that really was his first time to freak out, right? Already in the Starbeast. And, you know, that really was, now reflecting on it, sort of setting up the whole thing about him not wanting to lose somebody, and especially not Donna. And this time he would know that he was losing her for good this time, because he kind of already lost her when he erased her memory, right, to save her. And yeah, I never really caught that parallel with the other episodes. So that was a really good call on you. Good observing.
Honestly, I feel like the scene that kind of helps me really get my bearings the most was right around the end, when like they were showing like the different like creations that Rose had made, and how they like paralleled different like Doctor Who creatures in this universe. And like, I mean, like I knew about a few of them beforehand, but like I think really just like seeing which ones they specifically like used, like the Daleks and etc., which creatures they kind of chose to include. I thought it was interesting because like I guess they were kind of the most both famous and I guess important as well to the whole like plot line of the entire arc of Doctor Who. But I think that also was very like, I think it was I also liked the scene.
The making of the soft toys by Rose, right? And because she was never, I mean, I guess she has the Doctor's memories, you know, but she's sort of the child of Donna. And anyways, I was thinking, like, I guess they're talking about genetic memory there, and you know, I'm really interested in that kind of topic. Um, but yeah, I thought that was really an interesting thing, and I'm half expecting that the monster toys are going to show up in the Disney store at any time. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just joking, but yeah, you never know, right? What I think is kind of funny though is that he loves the nobles and Donnas particularly a lot, but they're actually pretty mean to him, especially the Dr. Donna, right? And how she was blaming him for her weakness, you know, wanting to help people and giving up all of her money. You know, it's just like, I was trying to be more like you know, like, oh, I felt so bad about that. You know, making fun of him, you know, being, you know, such a kind and giving person, and doing things like that. I was totally not prepared for that, but I guess it's because I'm not as familiar with, you know, all the people that have been watching Donna's interaction with the Doctor for years. And then another thing I started thinking about, and this got me looking. So I'm just going to geek out with you on music, because I know that's what you like. So I looked up the composer for the latest theme, and his name is Murray Gold. And apparently he's been composing for the Doctor Who since 2005, and he works a lot with Russelltdavies. So it looks like with music, as with acting, that you get yourself in a group and you can kind of know who your friends are and you keep working with them. So I found that really interesting. So it's not just a spillover with the writing and the acting, but also with the music. And then still reflecting on the episode after watching it again, and you know, I guess now at this point we've looked at what other people are saying, because we've done this backwards, right? um you know, so, and I'm just going to very briefly broach the elephant in the room, right? And that's the inclusiveness of the Doctor, right? And how the Doctor Who series is pushing boundaries. And you know, here we have a trans character. We've got a character in a wheelchair, and having her have access to the TARDIS, all of this inclusiveness. And you know, and people are complaining about it, right? You know, but the interesting thing is that you're also dealing with a biracial marriage. And this is going to sound weird probably to you, but when I was young, when I was your age, you wouldn't see that. And the one thing that nobody talks about now is the biracial marriage. So I have great hope that when you're my age, all of the things you just saw in Doctor Who in the Starbeast, and all the things that were brought up that seem to be antagonizing people, you know, when you're my age, these things might never be a big deal anymore like they are right now. So that's all I want to say about the elephant in the room. I know we just have to say something. Well, I'm just throwing that out there. Um, and I just think this is part of the evolution of the Doctor. And we know that the Doctor is male and female, and this is where we're going with this. And this is really important for bringing in the new audience. And yeah, yeah, we needed to say something about the elephant in the room. And I mean, that's all I need to say.
I mean, you're so right. I didn't even think about Donna's marriage because I guess that's just because I'm so much like younger than you are and like familiar. I guess I'm more familiar with people who are like mixed race because it's much more common now, as we know. But I mean, yeah, you're right. We can only wait and see how like if the rest of that will go the same way. But I do think that it is, at least I think what they're trying to do is they are trying to actively like expand the audience as we're entering into this next era of Doctor Who.
And then also reviewing things and catching things, right? I am now caught up on some of the one-liners that were being thrown out by the Doctor. Like when he was talking to the meep and he was talking about the ship, and the ship was called the Delusion of Grandeur. Or he was telling the meep that the meep as a species was a victim of fashion. Um, and like all these little things. Oh yes, the other one that was really funny was the slap. And that didn't mean anything to me at that time because I wasn't familiar with all of this, but this is a throwback to other mothers of other companions that regularly slap the Doctor. So that was sort of a callback to that. And I thought it was funny, but I didn't know the history behind it. So this was kind of a nice thing about watching this episode again. And then listening to you reflect on what you thought was your favorite scene. I think there's two things in addition to that, because I love that scene as well, right? That whole thing with the glass separating, and the Doctor freaking out. But I think two scenes that I really liked, and there was other ones, but the ones that came to mind while you were discussing that, was the trial scene in the garage. It's just like the total bizarreness of it. The Doctor pulling out the wig and putting it on, and then invoking protocols, and then slowly putting all the pieces together that we were watching him, observe, prior to that. And then the irony of the scary insect beings being the good guys and the cute little thing being the evil monster, right? I just love the pacing on that and the humor in there, and just just how that whole thing was done. It was just like, to me, that was like, for my experience of Doctor Who, that I really enjoyed that. But the other thing that really struck a chord, like you were saying, with the pane of glass and being separated, was right at the end before Donna just destroyed the TARDIS with the coffee, and the Doctor just repeating over and over again that it killed, he says, it killed me, referring to when he had to leave her behind and have her forget him, right? And then her reply asking him to visit and stay, like, why do you have to keep running? Why can't you just come back? You're a Time Lord, you can come back. And it really, to me, that was very, very touching. So there's those two scenes, like the one total, thing in the parking garage being total Doctor Who, and then shifting to this other very poignant scene where he's trying to open up to her and let her know how he's thinking or how he's feeling, and how difficult that is for him, right? Because, like we were talking before about how he's always running.
And I had no idea about the meaning behind that slap when he got slapped. I thought the whole "here we go again" thing was in reference to like just the Doctor being thrown into crazy, chaotic situations. I didn't know there was that backstory, but really, that's so much better actually. But I liked so much of the humor in this episode because it's silly and it's goofy and it's just fun, but also like the humor and really just the entire episode is able to be both humorous and like really witty and cutting and just like really really deep and like almost like a holding up a mirror to the real world, some of the things and issues and problems that we see in the real world in this single episode. And I think that's really speaking to the direction that I think this new era of Doctor Who is going to go in.
Great. I think we're both on the same page on this. I think we both are pretty excited about how things are going to go with Doctor Who, and I think we both are up all in, I guess. So, yeah, let's watch this Christmas special. I think we've waited long enough to get ready to watch this, so I'm looking forward to watching that with you. I think it will be fun to, now experience this new Doctor and kind of go in with everything fresh. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
Thank you for listening to the Birds on Powerlines podcast on The Starbeast. And if you could, our entire series of podcasts on the Doctor Who 60th Anniversary Special. As always, please let us know what you thought. Next, we plan to finally watch the 15th Doctor in the 2023 Doctor Who Christmas Special. Yes, we've been holding off on watching that until we finish talking about the 60th Anniversary Special. But we have been carefully avoiding any materials discussing the Christmas special so that we could watch it with fresh eyes. We will more than likely be podcasting on it, and hopefully you'll look forward to catching that. On a different topic, we also plan to watch the Netflix series on All the Light We Cannot See. We're huge fans of the book, and so far we've only watched a little bit of the first episode. We'll more than likely be podcasting on that series as well. So, until next time, thank you for being part of the Birds on Powerlines podcast.